Hello and welcome to my course on data security. This is Adeya Okoya from LB Academy. I am a digital transformation advisor, enabling support for business to innovate on a digital platform with a focus on your business model. In this session on data security, we'll be covering the fundamentals and best practices of good data management, the technology that are available to help, and discuss how and when business should apply them as they grow. Right. So just permit me to share my screen with you here. Rightio. So there we are. This is a module and it's part of a course I'm offering on data strategy. So data security is the practice of protecting digital information from unauthorized access, corruption, or theft throughout its entire life cycle. It's a concept that encompasses every aspect of information security, from the physical security of hardware and storage devices to administrative and access controls, as well as the logical security of software applications. It also includes organizational policies and procedures. The business value of data has never been greater than it is today. The loss of trade secrets or intellectual property, IP, can impact future innovations and profitability. So how does data security come in? Well, here's the definition. It's about protecting digital information from unauthorized access, corruption, and theft, like I said earlier on. And here is a quote here. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and just a few minutes of a cyber incident to ruin it, which kind of shows you the emphasis here. So here are some basic concepts. If we look at data security from the organizational perspective, at the operational level, staff are interested in bits and bytes, but also the manager should be interested in the broad concepts and in risk to the organization and costs. The framework is very simple, which is why I think it's effective, since it basically looks at cybersecurity in an organization. What you do, what are the operations? Now, this is basically how you manage cybersecurity operationally in an organization. We really need to consider error factors, since people don't succumb to technology, and that means we have to be worried about policy and procedures. Basic models here. So I want to focus on a basic model that will help you think about designing security for a system that you may be managing. Essentially, it's about managing confidentiality, data integrity, as well as availability. That's CIA. Wink, wink. This model looks at how we go about thinking through cybersecurity controls for systems. So in terms of the basic model, firstly, you want to use a process that assesses the systems you try to protect, map out the threats against vulnerabilities, derive controls that look at the potential threat, and then map out a map, well, develop a map rather, to implement controls. Also, the framework there is that you identify the problem areas, the information assets you want to protect, what will be, where the intrusion is coming from, how you will respond to that institution, and if it needs, how you'll be able to recover the system, actually. So for the success of our controls really depends on how much we trust these controls, you see. Now, there are some assumptions here that the designs we put in place meet the goals of our security needs for the system. We also are assuming that the subtotal of all the controls we put in place achieve the goals that we're outlining for our security systems. At the same time, we assume that the implementation is correct which is more of a function of the human beings doing the installation? Well, in designing security for a system, you need to assume that the system will be breached. But it does mean we develop different strategies that make our systems resilient in the face of breach. So we essentially are also faced with the fact that these controls are going to cost a significant amount of money. So how do we prioritize the controls that we come up with? We need to do a basic risk assessment, understand the likelihood of a breach at a particular vulnerability that we've identified against the cost of protecting it. And so you can see that doing a risk assessment helps you think through the value of the assets that you're protecting against the cost of loss and the likelihood of loss. You're in a business, you do need to protect your losses. So here are 5 cybersecurity essentials for yourself and, of course, for the staff and the members. You want to use a firewall to secure internet connection. Choose the most secure settings for your devices and software. Control access to your data. Protect yourself from viruses and other malware. And at all times, keep your devices and software up to date. Right, the first bit. Use a firewall to secure your internet connection. You should protect your internet connection with a firewall. This effectively creates a buffer zone between your IT network and other external networks. In the simplest case, this means between your computers and the internet. Within this buffer zone, incoming traffic can be analyzed to find out whether or not it should be allowed onto your network. 2 types of firewall. You should use a personal firewall on your internet-connected laptop or computer. Some routers will contain a firewall which could be used in this boundary, as a protection rule. Make sure you configure and use a firewall to protect all your devices, especially if you are in a network, particularly those that come to connect to the public or other untrusted Wi-Fi networks. Righty-ho. Secondly, moving along swiftly here, choose the most secure settings for your devices and software. So you should always check the settings of new software and devices, and where possible, make changes which raise your level of security. That means like these devices normally come with factory settings. So you always don't want to just take that on board. You want to make an adjustment to prevent being hacked. So regard passwords. Your laptops, desktop computers, tablets, and smartphones contain your data. So both your devices and your accounts should always be password protected. Passwords, when implemented correctly, an easy and effective way to prevent unauthorized users accessing your devices. Passwords should be easy to remember and hard for someone else to guess. You must change, like I said, all default passwords before devices are distributed and used. The use of PINs or Touch ID can also help secure your device. Now, for important accounts, such as banking and IT admin, you should use 2-factor authentication, also known as 2FA. A common and effective example of this involves a code you send to your smartphone, which you must enter in addition to your password. So, some quick tips on how you can protect your accounts. Like I said, just to emphasize again, strong authentication, multi-factor, ensuring your web host has a DD or denial of service protection, your devices, keeping them up to date. Microsoft, for example, gives you automatic soft dates, turn on auto updates for your operating systems as well. Yep, there we go. And so Thirdly here now, how do we control who has access to your data and services? So to minimize the potential damage that could be done if an account is misused or stolen, staff accounts should have just enough access to software settings, online services, and device connectivity functions for them to perform their role. Extra permissions should only be given to those who need them. Check what privileges your accounts have. Accounts with administrative privileges should only be used to perform administrative tasks. By ensuring that your staff don't browse the web or check emails from an account with administrative privileges, you cut down on the chance that an admin account will be compromised. This is important because an attacker with unauthorized access to an administrative account can be far more damaging than one accessing a standard user account. So, access to software now. So, another simple, effective way to ensure your devices stay secure and malware-free is to only use software from official sources. The easiest way to do this is to only allow your users to install software from manufacturer-approved stores. For example, Microsoft has a Microsoft store, Google has a Google store, which will be screening for malware. For mobile devices, that means, like I said, Google Play, the Apple App Store itself. So, how do you protect yourself from viruses and other malware? Well, malware is short for malicious software. One specific example is ransomware, and that does pop up in the news. This form of malware makes data or systems it has infected unusable until the victim makes a payment. Viruses are another well-known form of malware. These programs are designed to infect legitimate software, passing unnoticed between machines whenever they can. There are various ways in which malware can find its way onto a computer. A user may open an infected email attachment, browse a malicious website, or use a removable storage drive, such as a USB stick, which is carried the malware unknown to the users. So how would you defend against this? Right, so there are anti-malware measures which are often included for free within popular operating systems. For example, Windows comes bundled with Defender. This should be used on all computers and laptops. For your office equipment, you can pretty much click enable and you're instantly safer. Smartphones and tablets should be kept up to date and password protected. If you can avoid connecting to unknown Wi-Fi networks, yeah, that's important. This will help to keep your device free of malware too. Allowed lists can also be used to prevent users installing and running applications that may contain malware. The process involves an administrator creating a list of applications allowed on device. Therefore, any application not on this list will be blocked from running. This is a strong protection, which I strongly suggest, as it works even if the malware is undetectable or to antivirus software. It also requires little maintenance. Going the whole hog, there's what we call sandboxing. So where possible, use versions of the applications that support sandboxing. For instance, most web browsers implement some form of sandbox protection. A sandboxed application is run in an isolated environment with very restricted access to the rest of your device and network. In other words, your files and other applications are kept beyond the reach of malware if possible. Protect your business. So I'll just recap again here. So you want to prevent your business being affected by cybercrime. If you remember the quote I gave at the very start, 20 years can go with like that. Keep regular backups on the cloud, in safe storage. Manage your policies, procedures. That's important, and all staff should know that. Your website for your business, make sure you change your passwords, update your device systems, your developer or hosts, make sure the patch security holds. And hey, it might be expensive, but if you need to get a digital security expert to help you. I could pop in for you and take steps. So identity theft, that's serious. You want to prevent that. You want to look for any transactions you don't recognize, like for example, it can be done through a hack or a text. Limit how you share on social media. Don't overshare. Watch out for that. And, make sure just be conservative with how you do things. So rounding up here, just kind of keeping up step here. How do you keep your devices and software up to date then? So no matter which phones, tablets, laptops, or computers your organization is using, it's important that the manufacturer still supports the device with regular security updates and that you install those updates as soon as they're released. So this is true for operating systems and installed apps or software. Hey, I can see you out there. If you're still running Microsoft on Windows 7, you don't want to do that. So manufacturers and developers release regular updates, which not only add new features, but also fix any security vulnerabilities that have been discovered. Applying these updates, that's called patching, is one of the most important things you can do to improve security. Operating systems, programs, phones, and apps should all be set to automatically update wherever there is an option. This way, you'll be protected as soon as the update is released. However, like I said before, all IT has a limited time span. When the manufacturer no longer supports your hardware or software, and new updates cease to appear, you might want to replace with a supported product if you wish to stay protected. So I'm just going to run up there again and take you out of the sharing mode. And thank you for staying with this course. So just a quick recap here. It's a digital security module, which is part of the data security course being run by me here, Ade Awokoya. Check it out, LBA Digital Courses. My website was out there on the screen and other contact details. So do check me out and sign up for this course. We really appreciate that. Thanks ever so much. All righty. Bye now.